Like this video? Why not subscribe? Welcome to Q&A Mondays here at MH News. I'm your host, Matt Haslam. Now, if you want your question on the show, please go to mhnews.info and submit using our brand new online form, and we'll certainly get those on the show here every single Monday. Also, check out last week's episode with Dave Walters. He's an amazing sound engineer, and we did a special episode with him that we went out to on location with him at one of his events, and basically he explains how to build a really great sound system and how to use it. So he's a really great guy, and it was an amazing episode last week. We'll leave a link in the description below as well. First question today: how do you work alongside a director exactly? Do they suggest a specific type of shot layout for you to basically light, or do you have a greater freedom in choosing the specific look angle-wise too? It depends on what job you're talking about. If you're the lighting engineer, then yes, the director and the director of photography or the cinematographer. Sometimes they're all one job though. Sometimes director of photography and the director are the same guy or girl. So it's your job as a lighting engineer to light that scene according to what their direction is. And basically they have this whole shot of here's where our cameras are going to be, and it's your job to make sure it's lit well from all those angles. But if you're the DP, which is director of photography, or cinematographer, which again is the same job, then basically you have really a lot of freedom with that. Basically, the director says it's the director's job to, here's where people get messed up a lot. Director's job is to direct the actors and to basically oversee the cinematography. But the cinematographer or DP's job is to oversee the cameras and say, here's where our cameras are going to be. So basically, as a DP, you're choosing all the cameras, camera angles. You're choosing what the cameras are going to be, what type of camera, where it's going to be placed. You're choosing what type of tripod you're going to use. You're choosing what you're going to mount that camera to, whether it's going to be a jib or a tripod or a slider or a vehicle. You know, it's up to you as a cinematographer. But directors are basically only they're in charge of the whole production, but at the end of the day, their main job is directing the actors. So it's your job as a cinematographer to do the cinematography. So it depends on what job you have, but my best advice is to always work really close with the director, because first off, you want more jobs later on, but secondly, you want it to look great, and working in a team is the best way to do that. Next question: I don't like Macs. Neither do I, buddy. Join the club. Nobody. I mean, some people do. I don't get it. I would love to have one, but they're way too expensive for what they are. So, is it possible to do well in this industry with a PC? Certainly. Plenty of people I know don't have a Mac. If you watched our episode with Chris Krasnowski, I asked him the same question. He's a pro animator, and he works in VFX. And that's a job where most people would say that's a Mac job. You need a Macintosh computer. No, you don't. There's plenty of people that do really great with PC computers. I have a PC computer. You don't need a Mac. It's plain and simply put. They make it. Macs like to say you need a Mac for this, but you don't. It's just more expensive, and that's pretty much it. I've worked with Macs before back in college, and a little bit of my career now, because different directors had Mac computers that I had to work on, but I don't like them. I don't like how they're designed, so just how it goes. You don't need it. And definitely watch the episode with Chris Krasnowski if you're looking for advice on how to work with a PC better. So check that out. Again, link in the description below. It's summertime, and the best part about summer is actually going out there and enjoying it. So we've done just that, and we took our camera along for the ride. The only problem is now we have way too many photos to count. and so we want to be able to share some of the greatest photos we've ever taken with you guys. So we now offer more than 30 of the best photos we've ever taken on our Matt Haslam Productions photography store. Just go to the link in the description below, as well as the link on the screen here. To find out more information on how to get these photos printed and sent directly to your home, shipping included, starting at just $2.50. Next question, what lighting setup do you use for run and gun filmmaking? The easiest one to use for very quick running around like that would be a one light setup. You typically use the sunlight as much as you possibly can in run and gun situations. So I suggest taking a flag with you. That way you can bounce that light from, have just someone stand there, sit it next to a tree or something like that, and you bounce that light off camera back up into your actor's face from the ground. Or you hold it up high and it's a transparent flag where basically you hold it up way up here and the sun shines through and it makes it like, it essentially makes this sun a big softbox. So you do that for a lot of run and gun things, and then typically I'll take one 2 foot by 2 foot softbox with me with one lighting stand with one sandbag, and it only has one bulb inside of it. That way if it breaks I only have to replace one bulb. Typically I'll budget for that, just how it goes with run and gun things, but it only has one bulb, so basically I'll have one person just on that whole lighting stand for the day. That's their whole job, just to move that around, and then they'll come over and hold up the flag to diffuse the sunlight. But that's their whole job, is just those two things. It makes it really simple for them. The essential thing in run and gun filmmaking is to make it easy for your crew. Have enough crew there. Have a friend come out that day. Give them a couple bucks or something like that if you want to, but have them just, essentially with any kind of filmmaking, the best thing to do is make everyone's job very easy. Only have them in charge of one or two things. That way they're not doing 50, you know? So typically I'll give that job to somebody and say, here's one light, you do that light, and then you do this flag over here, and that's all you have to do. That's all day. So makes it easy for them. Best setup for documentary film where you're constantly moving. That's why I have this here, buddy. So this is a shoulder rig by Newer, and I'll typically transport this with the handles like that, so it's a little bit easier to transport. But once I get on location, I'll take those down, lock them in place, and then what I'll do is I'll put a microphone here with some zip ties, and my microphone just fits in there with a little, actually it's one of these, with the Samsung tabletop microphone stand. Just put that right inside of here, and then I'll stick the microphone out. I'll put my Canon T5i right here, and that's typically the camera I'll use for documentaries, because I like it a lot for that kind of run and gun thing. I don't like taking a huge camera like we have. I don't like doing that for a lot of things where I'm moving a lot, because first off, it's heavier, and second off, you don't want to go around a town that's not really safe. Like for instance, we were in a little small town the other day that I didn't necessarily like that part of town, and I definitely did not want to bring out our huge shoulder cameras just cause you don't want to do that. You don't want to walk around with that kind of camera. But this setup is pretty nice with the Canon T5i here. Then I'll have a hot shoe adapter that goes from the hot shoe to the 1/8 inch on the thread on the Zoom H4n, and that's adjustable, so I can basically take the zoom and I can put it wherever I want, and I typically face it this way, and that way I'll have the LCD screen from my Canon T5i and then the LCD screen from my Zoom H4n. That way everything's right there for me to see. And then on the back of this, well, actually down here, I'll just put a quick release plate to quickly put it onto my tripod or my slider, whatever I'm using that day. And then up back here, I'll have like a 10-pound weight, which I made DIY, and I'll put this on with some little bolts that I put on here, and that way it's more balanced. And this sits behind my shoulder. And you go, why do you do that, Matt? Well, I do that because basically if you just did this way, you have a bunch of weight up here, nothing back there at all. So basically you want it balanced. I know it's 10 pounds heavier, but it's a lot better of a shot. It's a lot more steady of a shot when you're walking around or you're moving or you're running with the camera. You don't want to run with a camera that has no balance back there. That's why with these shoulder cameras, you have the battery packs back here, because the battery packs are heavy. That's why they do that. With one of these shoulder rigs, you need weight back there. So I typically put that back there, and then I'll put maybe a little tiny sandbag inside of that, or a bottle of water or something like that inside that little cage, and that way it's more balanced. But that makes for a really great shot, and that's what I shot every documentary I've ever shot in my life on, including our town Orgsburg, which we just got done filming for WVA, which is a local PBS station. So that's good enough for a broadcast. So that's all I have to say. Next question. Any tips on animating text titles to make them more interesting? Again, I say you have to check out Chris Krasnowski. He does this a lot better than I do. But basically, text you want to move. You don't want to just have it appear or disappear or fade in, fade out. That's boring. You want text to move. And so basically just have some, in Adobe Premiere, they have moving templates. They also have where you can edit how it moves and stuff like that. With a lot less advanced programs like Magix Video Pro X4, like I used to use as my main editor. Now I just use it as a secondary editor. It's still good for certain things. It just doesn't animate things well. It has really no animation software in it. So I suggest just going into Premiere and figuring out the movements, and you just go to the effects browser and change the movement. If you want help with that, there's plenty of great videos out there online for it. But my good friend Chris Krasnowski on his channel does some tutorials on how to do really great text animation, so go check that out. So thank you guys for joining us today, and if you want your question read on the show, please go to mhnews.info and submit using our brand new online form. You can also comment below on Facebook or YouTube, or private message me on Facebook, or see me in real life. There's plenty of ways to get us your questions for a weekly Q&A Mondays episode, so choose which one you would like and get us those questions. And again, go check out our special episode last Thursday with Dave Walters, an amazing sound engineer and a great mentor of mine and a great friend of mine. So go check that episode out as well. Have a great week, guys, and see us next time. Bye.
The group we're working with is Trial Under Fire tonight. We work with every band. They hire us to come out, do their venues. We do their mixing, and then sometimes we work with them more than once. Sometimes we work with them just once if they're in the area. This is an electronic drum set. It's not the percussion you normally see, so it gives a little bit of a different sound, but it's the same sound. It's pretty cool. It's cool, new stuff.